גם לרשימת הסמינרים הקודמים שהיו, ואולי תרצו לבדוק את ההקלטה שלהם אם היא מעניינת אתכם. ואני מחזירה את השרביט למקס, המנחה שלנו היום. מקס, please.
Okay, so hi everybody. Just first moment maybe with my video on so you can see me, and I'm Max. I'm a PhD candidate from Tel Aviv University. I'm also working for the Center of the Study of Conflicts and Their Resolution, and today I'm going to show you the software MAXQDA, and I will show you how to streamline qualitative data analysis with MAXQDA. I'm trying to balance somehow the process of creating a research design that can be facilitated best with the software, to show you how the software works, and to give you also the opportunity to ask me questions. I will now show you what we're going to do. I'm sharing my screen. Okay, here we go. So, qualitative data analysis and coding with MAXQDA. So first of all, we're having this little welcome round. Then I'm going to give you an introduction about what this is actually about. I'm going to show you in the software. I will share my screen and I will show you the interface, essential functions, the workflows, just to have a brief overview of the software as it is, for you to understand better what it actually means, what I'm talking about. I will go back to this little presentation, and I will have a little recap of the process of generally, like, qualitative analysis of usually text documents. Some of you might already know all of this. Others are maybe more new to the topic. So I will try to keep it short, but for everybody to be able to participate. And then once again, I'm showing you MAXQDA and go a little bit deeper into the functions and show you what is needed to know. And in the end, we will have a Q&A. If you have questions in the process of this workshop, you can just raise your hand and I will try to answer your questions. Of course, maybe I will finish one or two sentences, and maybe I will also keep some questions for the last part of the presentation, in order to not have it all split off in different sections. However, I would ask you, if you have bigger questions where you already know, okay, this can be part of the Q&A in the end, just to write them in the chat, and to first read what other questions are already asked, and just comment them with a thumbs up if you have the same question. So maybe eventually we see that there are like 3, 4, 5 questions that are most important, because I guess with 30 people and 1.5 hours, we might not have time to answer all questions. However, I brought enough time, so if some of you want to stay online and have a few more minutes, we can try to arrange that. Okay, let's go. What is MAXQDA and what does it? It is facilitating coding. So we're not talking about the coding that usually all people in Israel are doing, which is like Python and programming, different web apps or whatever. So we're talking about assigning a code to one part of content. So usually it is text, but it could also be videos or sound or whatever. I will show you later in the software. But usually it is like taking a peer-reviewed paper and to take just a pencil and to mark some things. This is a black marker, this is a red marker, this is a green marker. And you in your mind know the red marker means something is important. That's a code. This is an important piece of my paper. However, the more sophisticated one gets, you can also use a little, I don't know, asterisk if you want to say something special about one topic. What we're having here is a software that gives you the opportunity to have a whole array of codes that you can assign to whatever different pieces of text or other content that you want to have. You can structure your whole library, your whole bibliography, all of your sources. You have them all in one program, all of your codes, all of your sources, and you can assign one to the other. You can save everything online. You can share it with your peers. You can directly assign it to somebody else to control what you're doing. You can have teamwork. You can do like all kinds of things. But the very basic thing is to code text. This is what it does best. So if you think about having a nail and a hammer, the best thing is to just put a picture on the wall. You can do what kinds of things you want to do with that hammer, but it is meant to do this. So eventually, when I'm showing you, I can in the end also show you what I am doing with this program, which is slightly different from what you usually work with, which is for like most of the people use it for interviews. And I'm also showing you a project that is already in the software implemented for exactly that purpose, to explain what the thing is doing. And you will see that it is perfectly meant for interviews, for structured, semi-structured, whatever structured interviews, paired with other pieces of content. So it does not give you an end product. You're not like, this is not ChatGPT. You're putting some things in, and eventually you have a product, a text, or whatever. It is just helping you with the process to make your life easier when you're doing qualitative data analysis. It is not yet coding for you. There is an AI beta that I don't have access to because of my license, but they just started to have this new version of MAXQDA from, I think, September 11th on or something, and it is beta. So there are some AI tools that I can show you, but it's not that sophisticated yet, and the very best AI function is not yet ready, but I can explain to you in the software what it is meant to do in a few months or years. And I would ask everybody to turn off the microphones. I can mute people if I see where they're speaking, but right now not. Okay, however, yeah, research design, sources, codes, and then interpretation of the outcome. All of this is up to you. MAXQDA is not doing that for you, but as soon as you have this, you can do whatever you want with this software. Let's go. Something is not, okay, here. I think I'm just going to MAXQDA now and show you what we are talking about. This is MAXQDA, and I'm just opening it. I hope that everybody sees everything and that it's not lagging. So this is a project that is already very advanced. So I think I might just turn off some of the parts here to make it a little bit better understandable for everybody. So the first thing that you want to do is to have, is to have your documents. So this is the document drawer that in the beginning you just saw to the very left hand. Now it is bigger because I closed everything else down because you have different functions. The document drawer seems to be very, I think, self-explaining. You can just drag and drop all of your documents in there. Word documents, PDF, whatever you want, you can also put in there. This is, for instance, here. This is a sound document, an audio file that you can put in there. You can put short videos. Everything that is bigger than 5 MB is going to be in an extra folder, and you have to, for instance, if you transfer your file, you have to transfer it with it. Everything else is in one MAXQDA file that you can save wherever you want. You can just say up here where you want to save it, and then you have this file with all of your documents inside, which is very convenient if you, I don't know, change your laptop. It's one file, drag and drop, and that's it. Everything you put in here, you can give it labels. You can give it, you can organize it in folders. You can tell it, for instance, here, you can give it another color, whatever you want, and you can already here structure your thoughts on what exactly you're doing. For instance, this project is on work-life balance. You have 2 different groups of interviewees. You have some from Berlin, you have some from Hamburg. for instance, like the software is from Germany, therefore all of the things are also like loosely attached to Germany. You can have another folder with images. You can have one with I don't know, peer-reviewed literature, whatever. You can go for your system, and it's all up to you. And then another thing is like cross-cutting your folder structure. You can go for sets. So you can, for instance, say that you have one set that is just people having kids, for instance, and you take them out of Germany, Hamburg, and whatever, and you add another set. So it is not taking them out of your folder, but it's just a different structure that lies over the first one. And you can go for different sets. You can have how many as you want, and then you open it and you see all of these documents has this different structure. And eventually, when you're analyzing your coded segments, I will show that later, this is very helpful. So the second thing you see down here, this is like the different main functions. The second thing you want to have is your codes. I'm closing this one so that we can just focus on this. Now we're having the codes, like you want to have documents and codes, you're coding the documents. That's the basic thing. So here you have, for instance, the code of work-life balance, education, friends and family, work-life separation, whatever you want. You have, for instance, here, the work situation. What's the flexibility on the workplace of the interviewees? What's the amount of hours they're working, and so on. All of these different things that might be of interest when you're interviewing people about their work-life balance. You can also go, this is interesting, for satisfactions, and you just have a dyadic yes and no. Is somebody satisfied at their workplace? Yes or no? Very
Max,
easy.
excuse me.
Yes or no? Yes?
Max, can you please zoom in so we will see more clearly the what is written on the screen on the program?
Honestly, I don't know whether this is possible. I will try, but does Zoom has the possibility to zoom in? Like, um,
Good question. And second thing, if you can show us how to make one code of our own.
of course, one step after the other, I'm going to do this. I'm just trying to show you one after the other, but I think I cannot zoom. Sorry. Is it not visual? Like, can't you see the name of the codes in here? It's unfortunate. I'm sorry. I thought the resolution is good enough. Apparently it is not. But yes, I'm showing you now how the codes are working. So now I'm going to have both structures at once. And yeah, I'm sorry that you can't see that good. I usually have workshops on the ground and I'm working with like 5 people in one room, so I didn't prepare for that problem. However, this is the document now, okay? This is the interview with Salim. Questions, responses, questions, responses, okay? And now you go for instance, here you see this is a typical workday. On an average day, 9 to 10 hours he's working. So you can just mark this and you go to the number of hours, amount of hours, and you drag and drop this here and it is assigned amount of hours. Here you go. That's the amount of hours that he's working. This is very simple. Now, if you click on working amount of hours, you see all of the answers from the different documents that you have. And you can just scroll through and see how many working hours the different people worked for. So this is the very, very basic way how you code documents. You have your document, your coded segments in here, and you just drag and drop codes to the text that you are marking. Do you like, maybe you can just give me a sign? Can you see what I'm doing? Can you see how I'm marking text? Because this is like I'm a little bit insecure now how the things are working for you, because I cannot see what you're seeing. Okay, I open the chat. Yes. Okay. Odelia says yes. Okay, I'm very happy. I'm relieved. I'm just going on. I'm going slow and I try to show you what is going on. And if you have questions, as I said, if you have questions, go ahead. So I think maybe now you understood the very basic concept of what we're doing here. I can open another document if I want, I can, and whatever. So the interesting part begins now. If you have your codes and your documents, and you coded some documents after what you wanted to code on, you want to analyze what codes have you applied? And here MaxQDA comes in. Already this is, I think, facilitating a lot. You don't need your PDF viewer all the time and open different documents. You all have them here. You have your perfect structure and you can change it whenever you want. The good thing is, Sarah says you can zoom in with 2 fingers on your trackpad pad of your laptop. Yeah, okay, so now the text gets bigger, but the codes do not get bigger, Sarah. But yeah, the text,
For
I
me,
think maybe the
for
text
me
is
it
already
does.
better now.
For me, it does. I can zoom into the entire thing and then move the screen around to see everything bigger.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, sure. Like you can do that as a listener, but I can't do it. I cannot zoom for you, I think, or at least it's not working
I think on
with
the
my...
upper right part of the screen, there is kind of with percentages. No, a little bit down. Yeah, next to the search line, if you make
This
it
one?
here a little bit bigger, won't it be bigger?
This one, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, but this is just the text here. I cannot do it
Oh,
with
I see. Okay.
with the codes
Sorry.
on the left side. That is what I wanted to say.
I
But yeah,
hope.
if this is better for you, fine for me. I do whatever's best for you. Can we have a link to the program to test it? Yes, in the invitation, you can find a link and there's a 14 days trial version. I can also share the link later again, but you can also just Google MaxQDA and on the homepage you find the 14 days trial. So now the fourth main function is this, retrieved segments. We just open it on the left side. And we also briefly open documents. These little purple dots here mean that you activate a document or a code. That means you can select just for that very moment what documents you want to work with and what codes you want to work with. So I'm saying, for instance, now I'm just activating the interviews, just the written interviews, Matteo not, the written interviews from Berlin. That's it. I am just taking down the documents part, and I have my codes here, and I'm saying I just want to see, for instance, I just want to see who is satisfied with his work and who is not. That's it. And now I see red is not satisfied and yellow and green is satisfied. And it just shows me here on the right side, it just shows me the parts that I coded in the specific documents with that specific code. That's it, not more and not less. And if I'm clicking on this, it is immediately opening in my document drawer. It is opening the document and the part where I coded it. This is very, very helpful if you have, like, for instance, a 200 pages book and you just mark one specific part in that book. You click on it here, it immediately opens and it shows you that specific part where you coded it. It's gold. However, you open, for instance, another one, and there it is. Very nice feature as well. If I now go right click and I say that I want to copy it, where is it? However, I can just do it here on the right side. That you copy your this retrieved segment. Here it is, copy segment, and it immediately also gives you the coded information that it is from that document and so on. And when you post it somewhere in a Word document, in your paper that you're writing, it immediately gives you the source where you retrieved it from, which is already great. You don't need to type it anymore. It gives it to you. Okay, so that's the very basic functions of MaxQDA. And if that's fine for you, if you have further questions, now is a good moment to just very basic questions to MaxQDA. Otherwise, I would go back to the presentation, go with you through the structure of how would we start to create a research design, and then go to my own research to show you how I am doing these things, which is, I think, a little bit easier than this pre-made very, very sophisticated 1,000 codes in one document part. But yeah, if you have questions. Can it be applied to images? Yes, it can be applied to images. I can maybe even show you one if I go to the documents parts here. I will open images. Here you go. This is Mai's home, and then you can apply. This is, for instance, work-life balance. She has a screen, which is maybe not the most surprising workplace, but however, yes, images can be applied. It can apply to videos. It can be applied to sound files. It can be applied to everything. But as I said, text works great. So then I see, is this tool a Hebrew? No, it does not work with Hebrew. I think you could use Hebrew documents. So you can upload your PDFs or Word documents with all kinds of languages, but I think it is not optimized for it. So the whole interface is in English and in most Roman languages and German, I don't know. I think it has like 10 to 14 languages, but I think English and German are the most used languages. I think also Spanish, but however, they also, like, if you start working seriously with MAXQDA and you have specific tasks that you need to do, they have a whole like online academy where you can go for other workshops, mostly for free. Some are for a few bucks, but it's not too expensive. And they're also, I think also in Turkish they have some, but most are in English and in German. Okay, next question. I did a great work in Hebrew. It was just fine. Okay, so it works in Hebrew. I know now. I can't tell. I'm not speaking Hebrew, but yeah, it works. That's all. So I might just change back to the presentation part. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Okay. We start with operationalization, and I think, as I know many of you, this is nothing new. You can also get a coffee if you want, but I would just briefly go through it. Before you start, you need your topic, you need your research question, you need your hypotheses, and you need to understand what kind of sources, what kind of information do you need to answer your question. In my case, I think it's just easier to go with examples. I'm researching on international reparations. So in order to understand what happens with international, or what happened with international reparation cases, I need historical sources in order to understand what happened back then in a specific genocide, in my case, like post-colonial struggles and so on. So I need historical sources. I need peer-reviewed works that are on this various cases. There, I don't know, dozens of cases, so I can't really come up with historical sources myself for all of them. So I need peer-reviewed papers that I can, in kind of a meta analysis, take in, and I need a lot of newspaper articles, because many of the developments that are happening on it at the moment are so new that there are no historical or political science peer-reviewed sources. So these are my three different types of sources that I use. So we already see mostly I'm using, for instance, PDF sources, which is slightly different to Word, because you cannot, or you can change them, but usually you don't do that because you want to have the essence of what other people wrote. This is what I'm working with. So what information is needed? How do I extract this information from the sources? Here the codes come in. I, for instance, need to understand what do different people say over time on one topic. This is what I need to understand, and therefore I'm creating a code book that says, for instance, who's saying what, and my documents are assigned to different years to understand what is said in what year to what different topic. In your cases, it can be something completely different, but I think it gives you an example of what you could do in order to organize your structure, your research, and your design. Okay, something is lagging. Okay, This is what I already said. And you need to understand if you're searching for your sources, you need to understand whether you, for instance, need a complete set of sources because you want to understand in kind of a framing analysis, for instance, what different things have been said in a specific time. And you want to understand, for instance, how many times somebody spoke positively about something and how many times negatively. If you have a set of or a representative set of interviewees, for instance, this can be a framing analysis that you say, okay, of this set of people, 2/3 always said that their work-life balance is completely perfect. This subset worked for Google and this subset worked for Facebook. Eventually, I'm saying that people at Google are happier at their workplace than they are at Facebook. I don't know. This is something where the number of sources is significant. In other cases, you just want to understand whether anybody is talking positively about something, and the number of different sources that is confirming this doesn't really count. So the very intent of your research is very important in the search for your sources. And similarly, the same is with your coding. As I already showed you in MAXQDA, you can go for a code and a subcode that is dyadic, for instance, as we had it with satisfaction. It is just, are you satisfied or are you not? Are you satisfied or are you not satisfied? Others, with the work-life balance, maybe you've seen it, maybe you couldn't read it that well. You have subcodes of a variety of characteristics. Is it possible to bring your dog to work? Is it possible to, I don't know, come later and go later from earlier or whatever? Or you go for ordinal categorical subcodes. For instance, something is very good, something is very bad. Or in my case, who said something? Was it the president? Was it the king of a country? Was it a member of parliament? Was it whoever? This is like all of these different things. You can come up with your own system. And therefore, in order to understand what the different codes are, a code book is essential. For everybody that did not have ever contact to a code book, it is kind of a document where you explain all of your different codes and subcodes, where you say, why are you assigning what code to something, to some source? It is necessary to do this in order to make your science reproducible. Everybody that reads your paper eventually needs to understand why you coded your data, how you did. But we don't have enough time. Maybe I can show you my code book later, or if you want to, if you have questions, I can show it to you. Otherwise, I would just skip that now. And then we come to the data processing. As soon as you finished all of your coding, you need to understand what you really want to do with that, how you prepare your data for further use. I can, when I'm going back to MAXQDA, I can show you like some different features that MAXQDA offers. But eventually, I am also, for instance, working with statistics. So I combine some of these codes with statistical programming, which is yet another dimension that we cannot touch upon today. Yes, the reproducibility of the data is one more little thing. Usually you need to have an intercoder reliability test, which means that you assign some of your codes and some of your data, some of your documents to somebody else that also has MAXQDA, and this other person has your codebook, reads your codebook, reads, okay, what am I supposed to do with this data? And does the same process as you do, just with like 1 or 2 documents, because like usually you cannot force anybody to do the same coding process as you do. It's months of work or weeks or days. But I think they will have a few hours and that's it. So 1 or 2 documents, and then you can compare their results to your results. MAXQDA does that for you, and it says in 80% of the cases, of the segments, the other person coded exactly the same as you did. For instance, if we're talking about this, it's very easy. Satisfaction at your workplace, yes or no? If the other person says, okay, this person said it is not satisfied, but you said the person is satisfied, you should think about your codebook and whether you explain very well what satisfaction at the workplace means. With more sophisticated codes, it might be also a little bit more difficult. Okay, I'm going back to MAXQDA. And I will show you 2 or 3 small things, which is now we have here we have the documents from Berlin activated, and we have now is this a okay? All right. Don't know. So I'm showing you some things which are from the analysis.
Max, we only see the video. We still see the video with a woman
okay.
in
I
the
got
computer.
kicked. I apparently got kicked out from Zoom. Just a second. I'm sharing again. Okay, something is wrong here. It says that I'm still screen sharing, but I'm not.
Yes, you are with slideshow data processing. Okay, now you're not.
I'm going back again. And I'm going back to MAXQDA. Are you seeing me again? Are you seeing MAXQDA?
Yes, we do with the video sample.
Yeah, I know. Okay. Okay. Now I understand what you want to say. It's all right. I will show you what I want to do. Here, you can have different visual tools that you use with MAXQDA. And this is just, we don't really need it now. I just want to show you, for instance, just 2 or 3 examples. This is, for instance, a code matrix that you can have if you want to. Just a second, I'm making this bigger, or I'm trying to. Very well. Well, it's not that big again. So I can't zoom in. I'm sorry. But what I want to show you is that here we have a comparison between the persons, the people that are interviewed, and the codes that you activated. So each of the people interviewed is one document. So you are having a cross matrix with your documents and with the codes that you activated. And you see with the different dots here how many times it has been coded in there. So you see that friends and family, for instance, are very have like 7 coded segments with 2 of them, and 2 others just have like 2 of them. Most likely, for instance, Selim and Tan have a very different approach because they have kids, for instance. You can work with this. You can have different types of matrices. You can immediately see the numbers, or you can see percentages. You can go for whatever you want. This is one of the tools. You have like 10, 15 different types of data processing just inside here, where you can just show what you want to see. I would love to zoom in for you, but it is apparently not working. Here, you can
we
go
see it very well. It's okay. Okay.
Cross-referencing of the codes. So, for instance, whenever childcare is mentioned somewhere, you see that friends and family is also mentioned. But where education is mentioned, you have very few cross-references with, I don't know, anything but childcare, for instance. I think for now, like, I would go to show you the process of coding in some documents that are not coded yet. So I'm changing to my own research project in order to have some empty documents. This subset of my data is on slavery reparations, and I am going to show you now what I'm doing. First of all, I assigned, as I said, the year of a document as the first indicator, and then the newspaper where I took it from, for instance, And whenever it's a peer-reviewed paper, I first have the author and then I have the year when it was published. So I used this kind of system to organize my data. And I could have also assigned like FARP codes or something, but I just let it this way. I'm activating now. I'm working now with this set of Brazil and Portugal, for instance, and we can just open one of the documents, for instance, in the document browser. This is just a PDF that I took from the internet, from Reuters. And I'm zooming a little in. Here you go. And these are my codes. So in order to understand who does what, I thought about having these codes, this code system. I have the reaction, I have the claim, I have what happened back then, claimant and respondent. So the respondent is the person the claim goes to. If, for instance, Brazil claims reparations for slavery from Portugal, Portugal is the respondent and Brazil is the claimant. So I have specific information about the respondent and I have specific information about the claimant. So for instance, whether the victims that historically got subjugated, for instance, whether they are a coherent group, whether they are an international group, and so on. This is part of my assigned codes. And I gave them green. Then I have in black, I have the human rights violations, because it's not only about slavery. So for instance, was it like, this is from the UN, is it a genocide, war crimes, and so on? There are like different human rights violations that count as crimes against humanity. So we have them here. Then in, for instance, just as a category, is it war crimes from the Second World War? Is it from the Holocaust? Is it colonialism, and so on? The year when something happened, and so on. Then we have specifics of the claim. Who claimed, for instance, was it a member of parliament? Was it a diplomat? And so on. And the reactions, once again, I'm not going through all of them. Was it a rejection? Was it acknowledgement? Was it an apology? And each of them has, for instance, subcodes. In my case, it is an ordinal categorical case system from member of parliament to the president, head of state, as also with the claim. If we're checking now that, for instance, here, the Portuguese president says that in April, he said that his country is responsible for crimes committed during the transatlantic slavery, and so on. I'm just going to acknowledgement, and I'm checking here the president, head of state, because he acknowledged that that his country is responsible for crimes. This is an acknowledgement. It is not an apology, but he's acknowledging, yes, we did that. Okay, this is the very basic way how I am coding. If I'm now going further, somebody else, for instance, Brazil's minister says that this is very important, so we could go for something from Brazil. What's the reaction on the reaction, and so on. We can go here that he got the president of Brazil. He got a lot of backlash back home, so we can go to what I would code now is that the victims are not acting coherently. So we have the president that says something, but some other people in the parliament are not. So we're just going for no coherent actor. And maybe, yeah, we can also think about a lot of different other codes that we could implement here. We are now at 143. Okay, so I would go for a round of questions now, actually, and ask you whatever functions I can show you in this project, and from that point on, maybe we can go a little, back and forth and understand what this software is made for. If you have questions.
That's a great idea. So let's open the discussion. Anyone wish to ask a question? Maybe we can give you like 2 or 3 minutes just to try your MAXQDA tool that you uploaded to your computer.
That's also a good idea, yeah. Okay, I see that the chat is something. Can we bring information from social media to the program? Yes. I can show you like how I am saving my documents, for instance. So if you just on Facebook, I prepared something for World War II cases, for instance. I have this, I have Poland and Germany as one case. You can also use social media. If you're just going to Facebook, you have the same interface and you're just printing out. For instance, I'm using Firefox and I'm just a second, I need to take this away. Just click here on print. Then I see that it is not preparing everything fine. I'm going to simplify because it's more text and less pictures because the pictures are not that important for me. And I see that the whole text is in here. And I'm going to save it. For instance, in downloads, save. And then I'm opening my MAXQDA here. I am going this way. Just a second. There we go. Documents. And then I'm just dragging and dropping this one here. And now I have it in here. So you can do exactly the same thing if you just screenshot whatever you want from Facebook or whatever framing analysis you want to do. I think it is easier if you save it as a PDF, because as a PDF you can always mark the text itself and not as a picture of the text. I also have some in here or in another project. It is okay, but some of the functions that I showed you that are analyzing the text for you are not working that well if it is not text but a picture. So as soon as you're making screenshots and not PDFs, you cannot work with the text, which is unfortunate. So I would go for PDFs by printing a page out. Okay, that answered the question. If you have more of these questions, go ahead. You can also raise your hand if you want, or we can, if this is better for you, give you like, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, and you can open MAXQDA and play a little bit around, and then we're going for another round of Q&A, as you please. Yes, Oli?
Hi. So I was wondering if there is any way for the program to detect a code without us having to mark it. For instance, if my code is humor and my interviewees have used the word humor many times in their interviews, can I ask the program to pinpoint those events?
So what you can do is that you mark all of your documents this way, and then you can search for wait, where is it? You can search for different words here. Text search and autocode. It says autocode, which is supposed to be what you just asked for. And of course, eventually this is the dream. You're just having your code book, you're feeding it with like 5 or 10 documents that you coded yourself. It understands how you coded, and then you say, go ahead, do it with 2,000 other documents, and that's what it is doing. At the moment, it is just the beta version. I talked about it in the very beginning that they just that they have this beta version now. However, I tested it once, 1.5 months ago, but it is not part of my network license, so I cannot show it to you. It was a little buggy and it didn't really work out, especially if you are working with PDF documents and not with text documents. If you have very sophisticated codes that it doesn't understand at the moment, if you're just saying, just code every time it says genocide, then yes. But if your code is did the victim or the perpetrator say that it is a genocide, for instance? Did the perpetrator accept that you committed a genocide? This is something way more particular, and it's not able to do that at the moment. But I think we are, as we all know, at the crossroads of a lot of developments, and MAXQDA is by far the best program with these AI tools, because it has some different ones that are also not part of my license, but what it can do, for instance, already now, if you have the right license, you can just go on a document, and here in this overview, you can ask for a wrap up of the document, and just like with ChatGPT, for instance, it immediately tells you what the whole document is about and it sums it up for you. Or for instance, you can click on a word if you don't understand a word, which is sometimes the case. You can click on whatever, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, and it Googles it for you, and it gives you a little sum up of it, what it finds in the internet. This is also very helpful, but it costs like, I think, 80 euro in half a year, or 150 per year or something. And you book it extra, all of the AI tools, and the very, very best AI tool is yet better, but it's going to be there one day. Dr. Allison, is it possible to upload a questionnaire form to have the program build the folders which would later be filled manually? Is it possible to automate the answers if they are numbered, for example? I think, unfortunately, you need to organize that yourself. What you can do is you have here, wait, the codes. You can export your code system as a Word document. I did that once, but I think if you export and you see what structure it is, we can just test it if you want, or in an Excel, for instance. Maybe I just want to have it in downloads, for instance. Okay, MAXQDA. Let's check how it looks, and then you can alter it, and you can do it in Excel. If you have, for instance, if you have your codebook as Excel, include memos. No memos. Let's check how it looks like. And then maybe, yes, then you can automate this. Yeah, you have now this table here. Sorry. Here we go. This is the system now. So you can organize this and then upload it, because you've seen maybe here, import code system works as well. If you organize it as a document in Excel or in Word, as MAXQDA does it, then yes. But there is no, or not that I know of, an AI tool that you can just feed it with your structure, and you just made it up somehow, and then it does it itself. For instance, like with dots, and I think that's not possible at the moment.
Max, I have a question. Does MAXQDA do things like automatic counting of words in my own documents, like frequency of words, etc.?
Yeah. That's one of the very basic codes. You can activate the codes that you want, and then you have, for instance, you can have a word cloud, but also here word trends. So multiple documents, we can go for that. I select some documents, Poland and whatever, Asia news, something. And here it tells you, for instance, like you can, of course, say what words, but this is something that it just proposes: Dutch, reparation, Poland, slavery, and so on. And here it has the different documents, and it shows you how much it is used. So there are a lot of visualizations, but you can also count it. So there's always the possibility to print things out, to have Excel documents and so on. Here you can go to export, and then you can have, for instance, this image if you want to have it in a presentation, but you can also make it give you the statistics behind it. Or here, this was what I also wanted to do, a word cloud. So I am dragging and dropping something here. This way, okay. And now you have this word cloud. Of course, you can also say that you don't want to have the in the word count. Was it what I just did? No, sorry. So however, you can just delete some of them somehow. I don't know where exactly it was, but I did it once. And because the or a or something is always the most used words, of course, you can just cross them out to see what really counts. Colonialism or, I don't know, recovery, electorate, electronic. Oh, electronic, why electronic? Doesn't really make sense, but somehow it is important. Yeah, so yes, you can count in very, very different ways. Is there another question at the moment? No. So maybe the question that somebody like, do some of you have the software and want to use it now? Because like this is something that I cannot force you to use it. And I think it doesn't make sense to download it now with the free trial. I think it takes too much time. So yeah, we can go on with asking questions, or some of you, if you want, go to use it for a few minutes. Okay, so what we did not talk about, I think the coding part is mostly clear now to everybody of you. I assume that because you don't have questions for it anymore. The next step, except of counting words, visualizing codes, and so on, is also how to prepare the codes for further use. And some of these things you can do internally with MAXQDA. In my case, I wanted to have a database, and maybe this is also something that might be of interest for some of you, how to create a database with all of your different codes and all of your assigned data. So I'm opening now a different project, which is one that I already used, my post-colonial. This is from one paper that I worked on. I can show you how this looked in the end. I have, yes, automatic backup. I have my documents here, around like, I don't know, 300. And I have all of them organized in dyadic case structures, okay? So for instance, Germany, Namibia, Germany, Tanzania, Belgium and the DRC, Great Britain and half of the world. We know post-colonialism is a sticky topic. However, these are my codes. You already know them. It's the same codes that I have in the slavery. But now I show you my my database, and I show you how I saved the data in the database. Give me a second. My laptop is now with Zoom and all of this a little slower than it's supposed to be. Here we go. Full data set. I'm showing you now. This is the data set overview. I'm zooming in just a second, but just to make you understand how the whole thing is working. Up. Okay. Stop. So I have these cases organized as Germany, Namibia. Each year has one data point for each of the questions that I'm asking. For each of my variables, they're all translated into MAXQDA's code system. So for instance, this is the acknowledgement part that I showed you in the slavery document, okay? So for instance, I'm zooming a little down. If we are checking now for 1988, Germany, a member of parliament, confirmed responsibility for Namibia. It was at the independence of Namibia, and one member of parliament, of the German parliament, I had it in one of the documents, said we are acknowledging that we are responsible what was happening in Namibia. I'm coding this in MAXQDA. I'm going to Excel, and I'm putting in a 1, or if I find one more, if I find, for instance, a diplomat in 91 saying this, I'm typing in a 2. I'm going for a new node, and I'm typing in diplomat of, I don't know, London embassy, acknowledging whatever. Or I'm going to MAXQDA. This is another possibility. Where is it? Here. And I'm just copying whatever coded segment. Wait, I'm just opening one document that has actually a coded segment here. Here, I'm having this coded segment. I'm going to copy this segment. I'm going back to my Excel, and I'm just copy pasting it here. And as I said, you can see down here that it already says in 2023, Justice Info, Belgian colonial past, and so on, acknowledges this, page 2. So you have all of your information in your Excel, and you can retrieve it in MAXQDA. You immediately see what you've did. Everybody can always understand the process of your coding. It is completely clear if somebody understands the process, the general process of MAXQDA, they can always follow your way of retrieving your data, and therefore you don't need to prove exactly, like it is a proof in itself. You don't need to explain anymore what it is. So this is one possibility to create a data set, a database with qualitatively coded documents. And then eventually, if you want to, you can, for instance, combine the data. You can combine the data that you retrieved here by, for instance, like all of this, it was just my idea. Yeah, you can go for other possibilities, but the pink parts here is always coded data that I coded by myself, and everything that is blue is taken from other data sets, for instance, or from data that I did not code. For instance, like the time between human rights violation and claim, it is just a number that I typed in. I don't need to prove this, but here I combined my coded data, economic numbers that I took from the World Bank and from the international from international databases. So, for instance, I combined in my statistics with the years that the claims were made. For instance, what is economically specific important in a year where a claim was made, or where a lot of claims were made, and like this is my research design. With regard to IPR, all the material is kept in a cloud. How do you know it is not shared? Yeah, this is a good question. The thing is that MAXQDA, like at one point you need to have some trust in one of these organizations, and MAXQDA says and proves every year that they only have service in Germany, and they like the whole software was developed by the Technische Universität Berlin. And they're very proud of being fair trade and having their own servers and not sharing their servers with Google, for instance, and so on. Of course, eventually it can possibly happen that somebody is taking advantage of it and uses this data, somebody inside of MAXQDA or any hacker. But at the moment, it never happened, and they are they are very proud of having very safe service. So for me, it was good enough. But if you have very sensible data, like, I don't know, talking to patients, therapy sessions or so on, maybe you should double check this.
Max, thank you so much. Can you repeat regarding the blue columns? I don't quite understand how you merged it into your own coding.
This one, like okay, my blue variables. Okay, so this is yet another thing. It has only slightly to do with MAXQDA, but I can show you my code book and I can explain you what I did. So this is my code book. Maybe it's even interesting to just see what and how I did it. So as you can see, for instance, claims official, I'm saying 1 is member of parliament, 2 is a diplomat, and so on. This is the qualitative part. If we're going down to the part on economics, this is, for instance, the GDP of a claimant's country. And then I can go, and then I just saved the source where I took it. It's from the World Bank. It's the World Development Indicators, and you can click on it. And here in this database, you can search for countries and series and time and so on. I'm not doing this now. I think it goes too far. And then you can download here on the right, you can download your Excel databases. For instance, as I said, all of the GDP numbers. You can calculate the growth of a country out of the GDP. I think that's an easy task. And all of these things, you can put them back into your database. Of course, you have to mention in the code book that you took it from the World Bank because it is their data. But usually you have you have these most frequently asked questions, and there they explain how you cite their data in your paper, for instance, and then you can use it. And then you copy paste them in here, and that's just a lot of work, depending on how many variables you have. But it is, I guess, that's science. So I think we all know that sometimes it is a lot of work to put A into B and then to calculate B out of C. And yeah, but in essence, that's the process. Can you show, please, how you make changes in the categories? If you want to combine or separate what you initially thought, and if you could show again the summary of everything you marked for one category, for example. So I'm going back to MAXQDA, but maybe you can speak up and explain again what exactly you mean, because I didn't quite understand what exactly you wanted to understand, Tali.
Max, can you hear me? I'm not sure.
Yes.
It works. Oh,
yes.
Okay. So it's 2 questions. One, if you start to work on different sources, and you thought of, I don't know, this 5 leading categories, but then you want to make changes. So you want to combine 2 or 3 to one category or separate to subcategories. How do you make these changes?
Okay, so your code system is never complete. It is always just an intermediate thing that you can always update. If you want to add more codes, you could just click on it and you add a new code. And then we call this code, I don't know.
Test. Make it test 1.
Yeah, you're right. Very good. Thank you, Barrett. Sometimes you think too far into science. So this is the test code. The test code, I want to have the test in a different color. I'm doing this test code in purple. And I'm saying that we want to have a subcode that is underneath. So if I'm clicking on a code and I add a new code, it is test 2. It enters under this test. And I can even go another level inside and I say this is test 3, which is, or test yes. And then I go for an additional code, which is test no. And then I'm saying that yes is green and no is red. And I can, for instance, I have for test 2, I have test 3, test 4, test 5, and each of them I have test 5, yes, no, test 6, yes, no, and each of them I can assign with red and with red and green. And always when I'm here in my documents, I can see whether there is a red or a green one. And I see, okay, this is yes, this is no. If I want to merge them, I can go on two of them and I can merge the codes. This is it. Then it is yes plus. It assigns a name that is slightly understandable, but yeah.
So it marks everything with the new color of the code.
Yes, yes. Then both of these codes have the same color. Yeah.
Oh, great. Okay. So I guess separating them is gonna be more difficult because it's
separating them again. Yeah, I think then in that case, let me think for a second. I could show you if I want to wait, if I want to separate something. I go this way. I show you, but I need to I cannot play too much with my data, otherwise I might get into okay, and then I call this test 5. So now I have into rejections, I have another one, and I just go, I activate. For instance, I want to split the president, okay? I want to split president and PM. Prime Minister and President, now I'm saying this is two completely distinct things, and I need to understand in which cases the President said something, in which cases the Prime Minister. So I'm just activating Prime Minister. I am saying I'm opening documents, and I'm just using the cases from Germany and Namibia. I'm activating this, and now I am opening here on the side. There is just, okay, that's unfortunate. There's just one coded segment, so it's difficult to show you. Give me a second.
So you have to mark by yourself again.
Yeah. But then you have, let's say, I'm also, give me a second, I'm also opening this and that, and this one, that one. There's just one. This is a little weird. There should be more of them. Okay, so now I have 4 coded segments, okay? And now I need to understand which is PM, which is president, and then I'm assigning a new code. I think that's something that it can't do automatically, honestly. Or at least, like, I never needed to do this. So maybe there is a function, but I don't want to promise you. I think this would be autocoding. In fact, it would be autocoding, and this AI tool, as I said, it is not free. And I think it's not working that well because, in fact, it is just assigning a new code to just that you give it in upfront, you give it like a framework in which it needs to operate, but it is assigning an autocode. So I think not.
Okay. And the other question was if you can just show again, if you marked all you need in purple, how do you finalize this? How you see everything that is in purple now?
Do you mean that I am like if I'm just having here my codes and then you say everything that is in purple, everything that is activated, you mean?
Oh, never mind. Just the color,
here,
never mind. Everything that is in orange, okay.
Okay.
How do you prepare the findings for the paper?
Okay.
Now I want to see everything that is in orange, everything that is in blue.
Yeah. So this goes with activating. So you want, let's say, first of all, you want to understand, you want to see what you how many times you assigned these codes in one case. So I'm going back, I'm deactivating all of these ones. Sorry that I activated all of them. So I'm just back to Germany, Namibia, and I just activated as codes. You can also work with several screens, yeah, and then you keep them open. So this whole sorting things is easier then. So you have these activated codes, just rejection. So what actors, for instance, what German actors rejected any claim from Namibia? And then I have my different documents here, and it tells me in this code segment part who did what. For instance, in this case, from a paper from Rausch 2021, resulting from this rejection of the reparatory claims, media reporting, and so on, blah, 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 blah. You click on it, and you have the part where it is in the paper, and you can read what exactly happened back then, when it happened, and so on. The overview is this one. If you want to just count, for instance, how many times this goes by the reports, for instance, you can have summaries here, but it depends on what exactly you want to have. If you want to have the summaries with coded segments and so on, like it's you have 1,000 of different varieties how you want to work with the data that you coded. So the answer to your question is a little difficult because I don't really know what you intend to do with the coded data. If you want to work very qualitatively and to say, okay, I just want to understand now why this specific president rejected and the prime minister not, you're just going to show these coded segments and nothing else. But if you want to compare rejections to acknowledgement for instance, president, this is also another possibility that you can go for. To show all segments, maybe you can elaborate more on your question.
Okay, Max, that I don't know yet, so it's general.
Okay.
But
So,
it's okay
yeah,
what you showed to see
okay, so
all the
you
category together, so it's okay, and then I can compare and everything else. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay, you're welcome.
So you can, Max, sorry, you can import the right-hand side, the summary of the codes with the citations. You can import it for a Word document, for example.
You can export it. Yes, I think so.
Yes, export, sorry.
Yeah. Wait, I just need to understand. Here you can just print it out, for instance. Oh, printer not found. Yeah, I don't have a printer, but you could do this, and this is always the sign for exporting it. So I'm going to export as docx. And then you can also, we didn't talk about memos. I will show you memos in a second. This is also something interesting. What do you want? The document group, the document name, the position, the weight, the code. You can weight. This is yet another thing, but we cannot talk about everything. You can also say this code is more important than that. This is a 2, this is a 1, for instance. This is a 15, this is a 7. But I think this is just important if you really count words and you say genocide is twice important than human rights violation, for instance. So I'm just going to show you how this looks like. Coded segments. There it is. Here we go. And this is then the summary of all of your assigned codes. Okay?
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. What you can also do, last function that I'm going to explain because I think it's already a lot of things, and I think maybe it's getting a little bit over the top. But you can assign memos to basically everything. You can always comment on what you're doing. You can, for instance, go here and then you insert a memo for the selection and you can write something to it. For instance, if you have some further thoughts, you can say that this is necessary for paper 3. If you write another paper that is specifically on something, and you can, of course, cross-search also just your memos. You can also say that this has, for instance, that this has significance, and therefore you put like, or a question mark, and then you have your memo over here, and you can search for the memos. Here is another memo spot. You can open it, and there it says it again, for instance. But you can also do this for every code. You can assign a memo for code king representative. Here, a memo. And then you can insert, for instance, for you to, if you have problems to remember your codes, because they're like, I don't know how many codes you want to have. You have 200 codes. Maybe it's difficult to understand what exactly you wanted to code there. And you can just take the part of your code book, to not always open and close it. You can just take this part of your code book, your explanation for yourself. You enter it here. For instance, that this is always when you read the word king doing something, this is the code, and you will always remember what the code is for instance. Yeah. Yes. And I see just in this second. I never saw this. Here is another function that is called codebook. Apparently, there is a function to just print out your codebook. You can also test this. But I think it is just the same thing that we did before. This is my codebook. This is my code system. So I think it's basically the same thing because there are no comments inside. But these are then the comments, like the memos on your codes. So if you would implement all of the explanations to your codes, you could print out your codebook. Okay. Is there something else in the chat? I think not. No. Any further questions?
Just out of the blue question, do you know or can you recommend on paper that was already published and used MAXQDA, and you highly recommend it to understand how people publish with a research about using MAXQDA? I mean, a research in any discipline.
So there are several books on MaxQDA and on the process of coding and working with MaxQDA, and they are, I think, published from Springer VS. Is this publisher from the US, I think. So they are pretty good. Like big books on qualitative data analysis, but papers that published with MaxQDA. Usually, I think that's a problem of social sciences in general. The methodology part is very brief, and they're just saying we do use MaxQDA. I have one paper of one of my academic committee members, Michal Ben Josef Hirsch. She's using one of the competitors, Atlas TI. I also used to work with Atlas TI. I changed to MaxQDA because I think it is better. However, she mentions that she uses Atlas TI and that she used this and that function, for instance, which is basically the same. It is just a word search, and then she's assigning codes to the paragraphs where she found the words in. This is all she says, for instance. This is all she says for the process of coding. I never read something very explicit and long on the process of coding, honestly. No.
Thank you.
Can you explain why do you think that MaxQDA is better than Atlas TI?
So one thing is that you can, for instance, assign variables to your documents. So if I go here, right, you can go to variables, this one. And here you can insert, for instance, instead of publisher, claimant, respondent, year, and so on, you can say, if you have interviews, you can say, you can already insert different variables. This person, male, female, nothing, or whatever. Or you can insert, it is from Germany, France, Italy, and so on. And you can use these variables to cross-code your codes, that you're just clicking, okay, I not only want to activate this document, but I only want to activate all documents with people coming from Germany, for instance. This is something that Atlas TI does not offer. I like the interface better. It has more tools on visualization, and I think they're also working a little bit better. And this is just a speculation, but I think they are better with AI, and they are having already this beta that Atlas TI does not have. And I think they will publish a real AI coding software soon that also deserves its name, which would be a major step towards facilitating the coding process. For instance, like, if what we talked about before, you have your code book, you code 3 or 4 documents, and you say, okay, now go for the other documents. This is something that I think will be available rather soon with MaxQDA. Yeah, that's it.
Thanks.
So Max, if I understand correctly what you explained with the variables, you mean to add metadata to each document or to a set of documents, not codes that are actually assigned to sentences, words, and etc.
Exactly. Yeah, it's meta information that you can add to your documents. Yeah. And so for mixed methods, it works pretty good. So as I said, you can assign your variables, and then you can go here and you can, for instance, activate documents based on variables, for instance, or you can cross tab, and then you have your different segments just based on your variables and so on. So this is another layer, but I thought it is maybe for this very basic workshop, it's going a little bit too far. But yeah, that is one of the functions that Atlas does not have. I think Atlas is also not working with videos. I'm not sure. I think also this multimedia thing is better with MAXQDA, but I'm only working with PDFs, so it doesn't really affect me.
If there are no more questions, then we can conclude and thank Max so much. It was wonderful.
I hope that you enjoyed. I think it is sometimes a little bit confusing because there's so many different functions. And I have to say, this is like the biggest and longest online workshop that I held so far. Usually I'm just sitting in a room with people, so it is a little bit easier to zoom in and to show people specifically what function I just wanted to show. So thank you for being patient. And yeah, if you're interested, you can just give us a little feedback and maybe we can have a follow-up workshop or something. There are 1,000 other things we could do, or we can, I don't know, create a little exemplary trial and go through the whole process from research design to data exploration. But I think, yeah, first we need to understand what works.
That's going to be one